What's going on, guys? I'm Tommy, and I'm coming at you with an action figure review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Medicom toy MAFEX Stormtrooper 2.0. If you guys know me, you know I tend to prefer MAFEX over SH Figuarts when it comes to imported figures at the 6-inch scale. However, with this Stormtrooper, I am extremely excited, even on top of the fact that I have a preference for MAFEX, because a few months ago, I did get the Han Solo and Stormtrooper disguise figure, which was at the time an exclusive to Celebration Japan. Shout out to Rhino Hobbies for getting me that figure, and I was so excited when I got the chance to pre-order the regular version as well. This is such an amazing figure. In my opinion, it is the definitive original trilogy Stormtrooper in this scale, so I'm excited to get this guy opened. He comes in the standard style of packaging for the MAFEX Star Wars figures. You have a huge plastic window on the front of the box showing you the figure, his swappable helmet, and some of his accessories. Some are hidden behind the window. You have on the bottom left here a glam shot of the figure here from about the waist up. The name of the figure lets you know it's the version 2.0, Star Wars logo, Medicom, and MAFEX logos. The numbering for the MAFEX line is an ongoing numbering between all the different media they do figures for, so this is number 259 in the total MAFEX line. On this side of the packaging, we have a full glam shot of the figure with Star Wars logo, name, and your MAFEX logo again. On the back of the box, we have a bunch of different promo shots for the figure, him holding different blasters, showing off the different helmet options here, and just showing different poses you can get with this guy. Some of your legalese down at the bottom. On this side of the box, we get a horizontal version of the other side of the box there with some promo shot and that Star Wars logo. On the bottom of the box, we have a bunch of legalese, your warnings, all the stuff that we don't really care about. And on the top, you have a wraparound window with that Star Wars logo. With that about covers the packaging on this guy, so let's get him opened and we'll check him out. Something I love about the Star Wars MAFEX figures is they always have some info on the pull tab here that says, "May the Force be with you." Something else I love is this backdrop behind the tray that holds the figure, which is a great screen grab of some Stormtroopers on the Death Star in Episode 4, A New Hope. Here's what the figure looks like in the figure tray with all the accessories here, so let's get this guy open. We'll take a look at the figure first. Alright, here's our Stormtrooper out of the box. I do just want to show off, you do get a certificate of authenticity, as you do with most of your MAFEX figures, and another inclusion is this stand here for the figure. It comes in a lot of different pieces here. I'll show this off towards the end of the review. So taking a look at our Stormtrooper here. So as I said, this is based off of the original trilogy look. The idea of this figure is screen accuracy over what this would look like in universe. So this is based off of 100% the original trilogy, A New Hope Stormtrooper, many of which we see in the Death Star, which is why they showed that picture of the Death Star in the box. First thing to note here is the stark white glossy armor. This has such a nice shine to it, and it really helps bring out a lot of the subtle sculpted detail. Lots of the ridges in the armor are shown off very nicely by how this catches the light with how shiny it is. At the helmet here, you have one of the many variations we see in that original Star Wars movie, as they did have a lot of costume malfunctions and things like that, specifically with these brows, and I'll show that with the swappable head in a little bit here. However, you do have that black brow painted very nicely. All the little details are painted and printed on very nicely as well. The blue stripes down here. The chin filters are painted nicely, and so is that frown and that black and gray. I think the lenses look great. Those have that nice black shine to them. And then obviously they did get that detail on the back of the helmet as well. Other than that, as far as detail goes, there's not a whole lot to talk about as far as paint goes. The only real big paint hit on this figure are all the dots in the blue and the gray on the little abdomen section here. Everything else is just white plastic or black plastic, and that is fine by me when it's accurate to the media that this is from. You'll see that the belt is a loose overlay, and there is a little bit of paint there for the thermal detonator on the back of the belt, and there is a holster here. This is a loose holster, and it can fall off. The glue can come separated. I had it happen on my Han Solo Stormtrooper disguise figure, so just be wary of that. You'll see that the shoulder armor is on some hinges here. It's connected up by the shoulders, and they're not loose, so they do stay in a fixed position if you put them in one. Aside from that, though, everything is pretty nicely layered, and everything lays really, really nicely. I think this figure looks great in hand. I can't wait to get this guy in some poses with some of these weapons. As far as articulation goes on our Stormtrooper, it looks like he's got some sort of a barbell joint system up in the top of the neck, and then another ball joint at the base of the neck there, so you can get plenty of range out of that helmet. Looking down, you can kind of bring the neck forward to help the Stormtrooper look down. The bottom of the helmet will be touching the chest. You can also get him to look up a decent amount, nothing really crazy, but for how bulky and oversized the helmet is, again, accurate to the movie, that's fine. And you can get some really nice tilt, some good attitude out of that head there, and obviously your right and left. You can see the butterfly joints protruding out from the torso here, that's good. You can get nice forward and back movement there, and again, you'll see that the shoulder armor will kind of do its own thing while you're posing around the figure. If these fall off, don't be worried, you can clip them right back onto the shoulders. As you can see, it just popped right off when I lifted up the shoulder there, but that's no problem at all. You can just take it and it'll clip back on without any issue, so don't be worried that you broke the figure if that happens. We do have some drop down shoulders here. As you can see, that's this in and out motion that the shoulders can make here. My biggest recommendation if you want to utilize the hinge at the shoulder is to bring the drop down shoulder out before raising that shoulder up so that you can get that full range of motion without the shoulder armor popping off. In addition to that, you do also have a 360-degree swivel at the shoulders, which is great articulation. There is a bicep swivel that's hidden underneath the sculpting of the bicep armor. That's awesome to see. And there are pinless double jointed elbows. The double joints tend to get more range, but a lot of people like the look of a pinless joint over a pinned one. So as you can see, you can get well past that 90-degree mark with those. That's awesome. That's what we want to see. And then at the wrists here, we have a hinge and swivel system. So the way that this works, whatever way you swivel the wrists, there is a hinge that works in a fixed position, and you can bring those hands in and out any way you'd like, any direction. It's really nice, a great ingenious system. You do have two ball joints in the midsection here, one that's hidden under the carapace of the armor and one that's at the waist here. The belt will kind of ride up on its own as you do this, but as you can see, you can get plenty of range out of this guy there. At the hips, we do have another ball joint here, which is going to get you lots more range, and it's also a drop down hip joint. So as you can see, I can kind of bring this up and down. You can hear it kind of squeak in there, but this is a very nice system. Again, it really helps get more mobility and range of motion out of these figures. There is a cut for a thigh swivel that is hidden underneath the thigh armor. That's very nice. And then we have pinless double jointed knees down here at the legs, and that gets you well past that 90-degree mark. That's always great. Anything more than 90 degrees at the 6-inch scale is awesome. And then down here at the ankles, we seem to have a kind of ball joint system very similar to some of the other joints on the figure. It's omnidirectional, so you can bring it forward, back, in, out, just kind of pivot it any way you'd like. That's a really great system right there. And there's even a toe hinge here, so you can bring that up. You can't really point it down at all, but that's fine. It looks great in some kneeling and running poses. Overall, the articulation is really nice on this guy, and especially for how plain he is. I mean, the stark white look is just perfectly accurate to the movie, and I think that in every single way, this is a definitive Stormtrooper. Now, covering articulation, the Stormtrooper, like I mentioned, does have that swappable helmet, and no two Stormtroopers in the A New Hope film really looked alike, so we have a different kind of look for the Stormtrooper here. This one has some green lenses here. You can't really see them unless they catch the light, which is cool. I like that it's a more subtle look. You can actually see the green plastic sculpted on the inside of the helmet here. And we do have that raised brow look. We see some sand troopers with this look, and we also see some stormtroopers with this look in the Death Star. Aside from that though, all the other paint hits seem to be the same as the other helmet with all the gray and the blue there. The chin filters are painted very nicely again, and there is that detail on the back of the helmet. This works really nicely. All you do is just pop one head off with just very little force, and you just pop the other one on, and it's on there fixed very nicely. Range of motion will be exactly the same. Our Stormtrooper is also going to come with a ton of swappable hands, something that's pretty consistently done in the MAFEX line. Out of the box, you have these closed fist hands, which are great for just standing at attention or if you want him fist fighting someone. Something I love that MAFEX does is that all the figure's hands come on these little pieces of clear plastic, so you can keep the hands in the pairs. That's something I really like. The first ones I'll show off here are these open splayed hands. These are good dynamic hands for a more dynamic gesture or something like that. All you do to swap the hands, it's very, very easy. You just pull one hand off. You'll see it's just a peg. There's no ball at the end of the peg, so you don't have to worry about it breaking as much when you're putting it on. And then you just take your new hand here, you push that onto the wrist peg, and there we go. Your new hand is fixed, looking great. Here's a silly little pose of our Stormtrooper with those hands on the figure, and then we also have a ton of other options here. So obviously a big one is going to be some trigger finger hands. We want our Stormtroopers to be wielding some blasters, so having trigger finger hands for both the left and the right can help to add more diversity to your display. If you buy more of these, you can make some right-handed or left-handed. Our Stormtrooper also comes with a C gripping hand here. This is great for offhand on a weapon or things things like that. If you have a two-handed blaster, it's great. He also comes with a more idle open hand here. You could also use this as an offhand on a blaster, but again, just good to have different options for different gestures. And finally, our Stormtrooper comes with some pointing finger hands or nose-picking hands, whatever you'd prefer them to be. And of course, this being a Stormtrooper, it would make sense if he came with an arsenal of blasters to kit him out with. So he does come with those. Obviously, the first one being the most iconic, our E11 blaster carbine. This looks great. It's just done in some black plastic. No weathering or paint applications to this whatsoever, which is a little surprising to me. I do expect some weathering or some paint apps from MAFEX when it comes to the blasters and accessories, but it still gets the point across. It's a very nice looking blaster. This one does have weapon storage in the holster here over on the left. Fun fact, the Stormtroopers do cross draw their weapons, so this is accurate. If he's right-handed, it makes sense that the holster would be on the left side of the belt. Our Stormtrooper is also going to come with the SE14C blaster pistol. This thing looks awesome, and again, just black sculpt, no paint or weathering to this whatsoever, but it is a very accurate sculpt to the movie. And finally, our Stormtrooper is going to come with the DLT-19 blaster rifle here. This is the heavy blaster for the Stormtroopers. We see Han Solo walking around with one of these on the Death Star when they are disguised as Stormtroopers going to the cell block. And again, black sculpt, no weathering, no paint, but it still looks very, very nice. Setting our trooper off to the side for a moment, I did just want to talk about that display stand. So most of the MAFEX display stands that I have are all the same. You just get this nice base here. There are 3 entry points for the main stand, which has different alternative pieces that can be added to the end of it. You can put this on any of these ports here, and it will work just fine. There's also this rod here, which can work nicely for if you just want him to just stand straight up. You don't want him in a super dynamic pose, and you can put this C-gripping clip on there. However, they do give you an alternate attachment here. That's what this little clear piece is, and you can put your C-clip on that, and you can put that on the more dynamic stand. This one's better for like flying or jumping or, you know, much more dynamic poses, whereas the straight rod in the back is great for just basic poses. This is a great option for if you want the figure to be very secure in a flight stance particularly. This would be a very good way to securely hold your figure. And then finally, you also get like a true pincer claw C-gripping one that can wrap completely around the figure's waist, which is a good option to have. As for me and my display, I really don't use those stands unless I have my figures in flight, and because this guy doesn't have a jetpack and he's not a force wielder, I don't really see a reason to do that. So why don't we get our Stormtrooper posed up a few ways and we can check him out with the different blaster variants. Anytime I'm handling a figure with swappable hands, I find it a lot easier to put the accessory in the hand first, separate from the figure, and then just attach both to the figure at the same time. It causes a lot less hassle and annoyance when you're trying to put accessories on the figure and the wrist peg is moving up and down. Here's a nice basic blaster wielding pose for the SE14C with our Stormtrooper. This looks great. Very natural in the hand. Here's a nice two-handed blaster holding pose for that E11 blaster rifle. You'll notice in A New Hope a lot of the times the Stormtroopers are shooting from the hip as opposed to aiming high and trying to shoulder the blaster. So I like that you can get a very natural look from the movie with this look here, and this looked great on the figure. Just to flex the articulation of this figure, I like that you can bring the hands together using those butterfly joints and have him holding the blaster almost like a pistol. And you do see, I know Han Solo on the Death Star shoots an E11 like this. I'm not sure, I don't know if memory serves me right, if I ever saw a Stormtrooper do it, but you definitely see Han Solo do it, and that's a great pose to get on this particular figure. And just again, to flex the articulation of this figure, I have a nice deep kneeling pose here, which was very easy to get with the DLT-19 in hand, Stormtrooper firing the blaster. You can also see that E11 in the holster there. Such an awesome looking figure. I really like this one. And what kind of a review of mine would it be if I didn't get the figure into a one-legged running pose? So here is our Stormtrooper rushing his way to stop our heroes from escaping the Death Star. And just for comparison's sake, on the left here I have that Han Solo in Stormtrooper disguise, which I do have a review out for here on the channel, and you can see these guys are done on the same exact sculpting, and these are definitely army buildable. They will look great in multiples. But like I said in the beginning of the review, guys, this is the definitive original trilogy Stormtrooper at the 6-inch scale. If you're a fan of the original trilogy, if you're looking for screen accuracy over maybe what the Stormtroopers would look like in the media they're from, this is the figure for you. It's my favorite Stormtrooper out of any line in the 6-inch scale, and I just love everything about this figure. In my opinion, it's pretty much flawless. But with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did and you're not yet subscribed, subscribe to Blitz Transmissions. I've got awesome Star Wars content coming out all the time. If you're an ARC Trooper in my Patreon, you would have seen this review early. If you'd like access to early content, monthly giveaways, and other awesome benefits, the link to my Patreon is in the description description below. Become an ARC Trooper for just $4.99 a month. If you're a fan of the reviews I do here on YouTube, or you just want to support the YouTube channel more directly, you could also check out my YouTube channel membership, Rancor Battalion, for just 99 cents a month. It gives you access to all my reviews early as opposed to all my content like you get with Patreon. You get exclusive badges and priority replies in my comment section, and you get to vote on what I review next for the channel like the Patreon members do. This review was voted on by channel members and Patreon members to be one of the next reviews I put out on the channel. If you'd like some Blitz Transmissions swag, you could head over to the Blitz Transmissions Armory over on Printify. Link to that is in the description below, as well as links to my Discord and all my social media. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll catch you for the next one, and may the Force be with you.
Breaking off. All units, fire at will. 1-2, pick your targets. Too many, Captain. Watch your stabilizer, Gold 6. Anybody cover me. I got 2 vultures on my tail. You've got to hold them here. Watch your left. I can't shake them. I'm hit. I'm hit. Where's our reinforcements?